Cities Skylines 1 is probably the best city building game that's ever been made, and it kinda just popped up out of nowhere. I remember all the way back in 2015 how excited I was to see a really realistic looking city building game. But what really makes this game special is the Steam Workshop. The way that it's grown organically and naturally evolved into this sort of beast where you can literally go and find any type of building from any city in the world just about and build any type of city, village or town of your dreams. It took years to build up this catalogue within Steam, and that's not even mentioning the mods. I mean, oh my gosh, there's really nothing you can't do in Cities Skylines 1. A lot of those said mod creators now work for Paradox, so what a beautiful situation really. It's all just grown organically and the community has well and truly been listened to, and the end result is we can build pretty much any city of our dreams. So welcome guys to episode 2 of Waihi, and we are going to focus on doing new things in this episode. Brand spanking new things I've never done before in any of my other series, and trying to keep it fresh. So let's see if we can teach this old dog some new tricks. So let's start this episode fixing and finishing off a few things that we didn't get done from the last suburb. This roundabout in particular here, it really didn't have any detail at all, so I want to spend some time here and make it look a bit nicer, a bit more realistic. We're going to put some rocks, shrubs and flowers in the middle. I'll also put some turning signs in here, and you guys might also notice that there's a horrible intersection here where the rail crossing comes through. I've been so tempted to change it, but I'm actually going to leave it because we see a lot of these in New Zealand in real life and they're a real pain in the ass. So this horrible intersection will remain. The next thing I want to do is pop over the highway over to our sort of port area, or where we put those big department stores. There's a whole lot of land over here that hasn't been utilised, so we're going to extend the roadway out here and pretty much just put down another couple of department buildings really. I'm also going to make a little bit of a black sand beach here as well. It probably wouldn't be the nicest beach to swim at, but if you're brave you might go for a dip. And there's also going to be a bit more abandonedness down here as well. Is that a word? Abandonedness? It should be if it isn't, but I want to extend that idea from the port area. And all of that is pretty much going to be the last thing we need to do to really finish this area, and then we're going to go and start building a brand new neighbourhood, but not before extending the highway, and I'm going to do that in a way I've never done it before. Not every area of a city is perfect, and certainly not along the coastline, so I'm taking my time to include some of these little nothing areas, but these nothing areas actually count for a lot. This might just look like a pile of rocks and weeds and like there's not really a lot going on down here, but what it does is it offers a really stark contrast to the very uniform and manufactured port area, or at least the look of it. So you can quickly see that the entire port area is about production, and these tiny little areas that don't really mean much just get left behind. So let's move over now towards where the next suburb's going to be and work on this highway a little bit. This part of the highway, like I mentioned in the last episode, is going to be inspired by the highway moving in through the suburbs towards Auckland in New Zealand. And after doing a little looking on Google Earth and just from knowing the highways quite well myself, I know most of it sort of follows natural valleys, especially when we move closer to the CBD of Auckland. This section of the highway here we're working on is going to be running right up towards downtown, so this is a good area to experiment and try and run this through what looks like a natural valley. Rather than building the highway first, we're going to make a valley, a very gentle one, and then we're going to run the highway through that and just see how realistic it looks. Such a simple change, but something that I think looks really good. So we've got a little bit of uneven ground now to work with when we build the suburb, but that's okay. The next thing we need is going to be an interchange. This is going to be our last New Zealand type interchange before we move into the downtown and it switches to that more American style. The interchange I'm going to build here is called a dumbbell interchange. There's been a brand new 40 odd kilometre long highway in New Zealand that's been built out of Wellington, and lots of the intersections into the surrounding suburbs are using this interchange. It's been around in Europe for a long time, but it's just sort of made its way to New Zealand and become popular now. So directly off our interchange, we're going to roll into the next suburb, and the core of it is following a simple grid pattern. And with the higher terrain that we created around the highway, I've got some windy roads going up to maybe some fancier properties. They sure would have a nice view across the bay, that's for sure. So the last little suburb that we built, or the first one I should say, was sort of based around that port area. Well, this one here is going to be based around a surf beach. There's a beach about an hour or maybe 45 minutes drive out of Auckland called Piha, which is really famous, and I'm going to base our little beach on that. And this is going to be sort of like a surfy little community. Lots of surf shops and skate shops and little fancy coffee shops everywhere. The only difference between this and the real life Piha will be that this will probably only be about 10 minutes out of our CBD. And the main street of this little town will be a connector road that will eventually run all the way into the CBD alongside of the highway. So right now you can see me putting in a couple of train stations. We're going to have a line running right through here and eventually into the CBD that's going to be based on the one running through the Hutt Valley and into Wellington. It's a very simple line that terminates within the CBD, and then runs back out through the suburbs. And I imagine within CitiesSkylines this is going to be a very popular train line, being so simple, and it will be by far the easiest way to get into our downtown when it eventuates. Ah, good old pack and save. Anyone else hitting up $5 a week? Just me? I've decided to call our little suburb here Franklin. I think that's a pretty cool name. And we're going to start plopping some buildings down, and we'll start with the low commercial. There's going to be a couple of buildings here in particular that we go to town with in regards to the detailing, and the first one is going to be a corner petrol station. These are pretty staple in every little suburb of New Zealand, and I found this really cool little mobile one on the workshop with a whole lot of props that come with it, so let's make it look like this is a bit more used and make it look a bit more realistic. These homes here on the workshop are called boomer homes, and if we zoom in and have a quick look at these are exactly like the new builds we would find in New Zealand in a subdivision. I'm going to place these predominantly up here, but there's also going to be a couple of 80 to 100 year old Victorian style places up here just to represent that the road might be quite old, and unfortunately these little old cute places just disappear one at a time, especially in these really upmarket or sought after areas. Now we can start working on the crown jewel, the beach, and we've got to have some access down here. There's going to be a simple car park down here, and we'll also have a main building for all the surf lifesaving and a clubhouse for like the local surf academy. These buildings normally have a really good view down and along the beach, so I'm going to put it here just at the end of the road and jack it up a little wee bit with some stairs down into the sand. I'll run a surface around the whole thing and make it look like it's got sort of like a raised balcony or a deck around it, and later on I'll add a few props like little surfboards and things, which are pretty cool. So aside from all of that, I also want to make this look very realistic, so we're going to have lots of things like little tumbleweeds and little wee like shrubs and stuff poking up through the sand here and there. We're going to have some nice forest and bush on the surrounding hills, and I'm going to use some of Greyflame's mossy rocks to create a little bit of a cliff. I want to make it look like the tide has just washed right up against this cliff over many years and sort of eroded it away. And then I'll finish the beach off with all the little props like surf life-saving towers and rescue vehicles, and also of course you can't do a beach without Ronix 69's seafoam decals. They look amazing if you use them right, and I'm sort of going to apply them here so that it looks like a couple of reefs. So the waves are coming in on a certain angle that makes it appropriate for a surf beach. These beachfront properties I think would be the same across most of the world. They're just super expensive and upgraded to apartment style buildings more often than not. I'm going to try and represent that here with a couple of high quality duplexes right on the edge of the beach. There's also going to be the odd property with a really stubborn owner that hasn't given in to high paying buyers, but I really like the way this road comes together with all the buildings on it. They look so cool just sitting there on top of the little cliff overlooking the beach. This suburb out here is the perfect place to put our grocery department. Franklin Pack and Save. Yeah, that's got a nice ring to it. So this will be the second commercial building after our petrol station that we're going to put some detail into. Most of it is going to be a dirty old car park. But that's kind of par for the course, right? I mean, every Pack and Save or any grocery store I can think of has huge car parks. This Pack and Save here was on the workshop, and how cool is it? I mean, for anybody that recognises that, it looks really cool. We've even got the little trolley return bays and stuff like that, so we're going to detail this up pretty hardcore. I've also decided to put it right here next to that intersection we just made. That's going to be the main intersection in and out of Franklin. I think this is a pretty appropriate spot for a supermarket. We're going to quickly whip back over to the car ferry terminal that I built in the first episode because I was an idiot and didn't look at the workshop properly, and BlueThunder has basically got an amazing car ferry. It's a much better looking prop than the one that I was using, and it's even got little doors in the back to let vehicles in. So we're going to put this in and adjust this little wee highway here that's doubling as our access ramp for vehicles going on and off the ferry, so that it looks like it lines up a bit better. And wow, what a difference it makes with this done. Now I'd like to add a coastal walkway that goes all the way from here eventually into the CBD, and it's going to go right along the coast. We've got this beautiful coast with all these bays and this beautiful view. Why not make a nice social walkway where people can go and relax and walk all the way into town if they feel the need? I think that would serve a lot of good purposes. So I'm going to make a real point to make this a focal point of the city. We're going to have some pretty serious infrastructure accommodating this walkway in some areas, including this little peninsula here. In order for the walkway to run really close to the water, we're going to have some pretty large retaining walls in here, and we actually see this in a town in New Zealand called New Plymouth. They have a pretty world-class walkway that goes along the coast in many areas, and our one is going to be similar to that, but lots longer and way cooler. Another new thing we're going to do here while we're in Waihi is I'm going to do a sightseeing tram. Now I've never done a tram line before just for the purpose of sightseeing, so I'm kind of excited about doing this. It's also a little bit daunting because I don't know realistically how steep I can make hills and things like that, so I will try and keep it as flat as I can, but I'd like a lot of the walkway to have this tram running next to it. We're going to dive into this tram line much more in the next episode, but let's get it set up. Let's at least get the start point set up and have the train run towards where we're going to have the downtown. I'm going to set the suburb here up so that it's all ready to build on in the next episode. I sincerely hope you guys will join me there. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Cities Skylines 1 is not dead. Look after yourselves guys, and I will see you later on.